Welcome to Curation Conversations. We're live in New York Ag Week and it is the sun shining. It's beautiful out there. I've got the wonderful Amanda DeVito. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. Please introduce yourself, talk all about your role.
First of all, thank you for having me. I am Amanda DeVito. I am the Chief Marketing Officer at Butler. We are a performance-based media agency. We have an incredibly unique business culture. I wish it wasn't unique because I wish more people were like this, but we are women-owned, employee-owned, independent, and a benefit corporation. Mm-hmm. So you just don't hear that too often. And we do really two big sides of our house, which is healthcare. Plus, because so many things are, I don't know what's not in healthcare at this point. And then we do hyper-local really at scale across the country. So those are kind of our two pieces of our wheelhouse, but all things media, and media now is basically any real connection between a brand and an audience of some sort. So, and I am so fortunate that I'm CMO because as much as I have kind of a dual role of marketing the agency and worrying about the growth, because if you're not marketing, you're not growing. Mm-hmm. Growth to me, which obviously it has kind of a dual benefit because we're employee owned. If we grow, we're growing shareholder value, but also I see the growth with our people. So there's departments we didn't have a couple years ago. There's the opportunity for people to just ascend in their role. Mm-hmm. So I could not be luckier. I've been there for, I think I'm coming up to 15 years, but I'm with just amazing talent from my leadership team that's alongside me to the people that I work with every day. It's why I show up the way I try to show up for them.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much we can talk about just in that response. I love it. But, you said yourself, there's no kind of everyday changes. What's the typical role that you take on as CMO? What does a typical day look like? Is there no typical day, you're going to say?
I think in a modern marketplace, there is no typical day. Sure. And I love the positive disruption. So my day might get derailed in a good way because all of a sudden an RFP might come down. So it's really either I'm worrying about kind of the branding and the storytelling and how are we really making sure that we're identifying our uniqueness to the marketplace, or I'm working on growing the agency, whether it's in an RFP situation, like I said, alongside my growth team. But as also one of the enterprise leaders, I'm always worried about our number one product, which are the people. Yeah. So that sometimes can kind of take my day in a different direction. And so no, that's a long-winded answer of no, it is not typical. But if it was, I'd be so bored.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, your day sounds beautiful that you can have all of those components of people and media, which is everything, and your clients, and just actually bringing it back to what actually matters, which is, the biggest asset to your business.
Yeah.
With that in mind, everyone I've met in the Butler team, we met, I think it was back at Possible, and I've met so many people within the team now are incredibly intentional around innovation. Mm-hmm. I think you mentioned it yourself, there's new departments that have come into play. And how do you keep fostering that kind of ethic as an agency, servicing your clients, bringing that value, especially in this kind of sea of dynamism that's happening in our industry all the time?
So I think with innovation, you have to have, and you said it earlier, a lot of intentionality. And I think it's kind of twofold. One, the people who are sitting there in the work day to day how are we going to give them the space to be innovative? Yeah. So whether or not we're adopting AI to kind of take some of the grind away so that they can have the headspace to be innovative, making sure they feel psychologically safe just to be able to raise their hand and go, I have this idea, or I'm thinking about doing things differently. I can't tell you how many times people come to us and go, why are we doing this? And great. Like, because if you don't have curiosity, you don't have innovation. And the way to get curious is to make sure you have the headspace to be curious.
Yeah.
And then also we operationalize innovation. So we have an innovation fund. We talk to our partners. We have an innovation day where our partners come in and talk to us about how do we do things differently, because there's no way in this business that you can say you're the expert in all the things without really leaning into your clients, leaning into your partnerships, and that's how you're going to get the most innovative ideas. But for us, we also have, we call it the Fugal. It's like you have all these big, great ideas. It's stolen from someone, by the way. I did not make this up. But ultimately, what you're doing is you start with these ideas and you run them through certain phase gates to see if you can actually take that idea and figure out how to scale it, how to operationalize it. And so there's a process in our innovation. And I think that is what has made us a bit different, that we don't get kind of bogged down in not being able to ideate, but also make sure that the ideation moves the needle in some way. Otherwise, you're sort of just sitting around and having a bunch of ideas, but you've got to make sure you're driving some sort of outcome with them. And that includes our clients. We want to make sure we're pushing them and thinking about ideas in ways, but again, how are you going to drive outcomes with innovation?
Yeah. So it's really about the application of that. So to your point, it's driving real client value, and you're bringing them on that journey with you. I take it through that process, which I absolutely adore. And it kind of brings me to my next question around the market is significantly changing when it comes to media, and we've probably maybe seen a couple of trends, which is in-housing with clients, but also some of the kind of legacy holdco operational models perhaps not be as future-proofed as we once thought they were. And do you think how the client needs changing that you're seeing, and how does therefore a business like Butler Till also adapt to be able to respond to those needs?
I think, clients are getting so much pressure put on them because the runway is so much shorter to perform. So I think from an agency standpoint, yes, we're a media agency. I think you absolutely have to know business strategy. You have to understand the hydraulics of business, because media is, it's usually one of the biggest line items. It's a huge expense. So if we're not talking about what are your overarching business objectives, and then we'll talk about the marketing objectives, and then we'll talk about how we're going to actually get it done. I think there's a lot more pressure I'm seeing on, and I'm saying media agencies maybe because it's just a little bit of my myopic vision, but it feels like media is starting to be more at the table and asked to be in boardrooms, explain if I gave you X, will it produce Y? We're just getting into so many more business conversations. And I think that clients are relying on us to have those business conversations, as they should. And I think that clients are looking for this combination of simplicity and outcomes, which is funny because I think you had a question in here, possibly future here, about the ad tech world, right? We are a litany of acronyms. A litany of complexity, a litany of confusion. And clients are sitting there going, okay, help me understand, is it going to move the needle? And our industry sometimes puts a lot of words around things. So I think it's very confusing to them. And it's such an inventive, innovative world, media, ad tech, that there's always new and exciting things coming, on board, which is awesome. But you could see why they get overwhelmed potentially. And then put a massive layer of AI on top of all of this.
I know. Well, incredible, isn't it? What a disruption for good, for bad. Where are you sitting with it?
I don't know. Maybe my optimism. I think it's going to be more for good, but like everything, there's a lot of balance in the world. You don't usually have one without the other. So do I think there's going to be some bad actors? Sure. Am I really worried about just my parents? And am I worried that they're going to get a phone call, and I'm doing air quotes if you can't see me, from their daughter, asking for money? I'm worried about, the fraud side. I'm worried about the imposter side of it. From, a media perspective, I think it's got a lot of opportunity for us as an agency to how do we make it a force multiplier?
Yeah.
I think the human side, the strategy side, the critical thinking side is always going to be key. And we are going to think about, could we be doing this faster?
Yeah.
Could we be doing this smarter? And I think AI is going to be a big factor in that. Mm-hmm. And I think our people, if we do it right, are going to get excited about it because our people are craving getting into more strategic things being a big word, right? Like all the things.
There's a lot of things.
All the things.
Yeah, all the things.
And, there's mundane and process in everything we do. And so if there's, including in my role, so if there's a way, to just, instead of looking at a blank page and just having some inspiration before or bringing my experience and layering it on top, I love it. The other day, somebody said, "Oh my God, is that ChatGPT?" And I go, "What a stupid question! Like, why would you even ask? It doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. Like, even when you ask that question, you almost seem irrelevant to me.
Yeah,
it's like saying, "Did you use the internet?"
Yeah,
like, no one would say, "Did you use the internet?" Of course, it's so ingrained in the fiber and the ethos of what we do. It is really just another mechanism and a tool for us to XYZ.
Yeah. And
so when I hear people kind of call it out, it sort of makes me laugh because it feels like whether you call it ChatGPT or whether you call it all, Gemini, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
The reality is the way we search, the way we engage is completely shifting.
Yeah.
And it brings me back. I've been doing this a long time. So, I remember when this social thing was going to be a thing. Like that's how long I've been doing this, which makes me feel really ancient.
Not at all.
It's made me realize that, okay, there was a time when everybody got freaked out about this thing. I do think though AI is internet game changing. It's not social. It's game changing, and I think we have yet to see all the good and the bad that comes out of it. And I think the reality is it puts a lot of pressure on our clients and agencies and ad tech of how are we going to understand it, and what's the ethics around it.
Yeah. And
that's going to be interesting to watch.
I'm really glad you called that out, actually. I think there's a lot of conversation around AI for productivity, which you get. Yeah, go do that heavy lifting. Let my team, my intellectual property, that human capital really soar. And that's incredible. There's conversation around AI for growth. Like how do I, to your point, multiply, understand the business practice of AI for our clients to then translate into media plan. But the ethics of such, and it is a fascinating one because you can go into sea of sameness, and we know sea of sameness doesn't actually represent people. Mm-hmm. And like, how do we make sure that we don't fall into those pitfalls and are so cognizant of the harm as well as the benefits of AI as a business?
When we talk about AI as a business, and when you hear growth, I think the natural proclivity is to go to efficiency, and efficiency usually is, cutting, could be cutting expense, going faster, doing more with less. And I think as an agency in particular, when we talk about AI and we talk about the force multiplier, we are very cognizant that if I'm in their shoes, are they going to freak out? And you just have to go, yeah, they are. So how do we talk about the why we're doing what we're doing? You asked earlier, we do a lot of things with such deep intentionality. Almost everything we try to do, we think about it through a change management lens. Whether that's even from broad strokes change management to what I like to call, and I don't know if I coined this, but like a micro change management. Those hallway conversations where, hey, why are we doing that? You have to know the why, and you have to share the why, and you have to be transparent, because if you're not building that trust, I'm telling you right now, everybody within any company is just really, I think they're probably excited, but I think they're also freaked out, and they're going to go to, rightfully so, what is this going to mean for my job? And, I think there's my CEO and I and the rest of the team are always talking about kind of organizational relevance and how do you always stay organizationally relevant? CMO today is going to look different than CMO 5 years from now. So what am I doing, to stay organizationally relevant? And I tell all of our people that will listen, and we'll come back to AI. So 4 things. Number 1, you have to drive results. You have to figure out how you're driving results. And that can run the gamut from something like, okay, I'm growing revenue, to I'm finding a more efficient way to do something. But you have to at least know how your job is driving results. You absolutely have to have leadership and influence. Now, it's easy for me to say that as a C-suite individual, but I have not always been a C-suite, and I have had leadership and influence regardless of my title. Yeah. And I think it's really important that in such a collaborative environment, which marketing is the most collaborative environment, you have to have leadership and influence. The third is contribution and value. Are you contributing and driving value within your organization? Because it matters. And that could be anything from, hey, I know I have this swim lane, but I want to be able to help my colleague. Yeah. Or I want to be a really great individual contributor, and I want to be a high-performing individual contributor, and I want to do it in these ways. And then the fourth one, which it used to be expertise, is really future-proofing. Okay. How are you future-readying yourself? And now overlay AI.
Yeah.
I mean, there's kids going to college today that are like wrapping up a 4-year degree that won't be here pretty soon. Not 10, 15 years, but like a year or 2 from now. Yeah. And so I think if you're always thinking, how do I stay organizationally relevant? And you think about these 4 things, you've got AI won't scare you. It'll actually be something that, okay, this is going to be another tool in my tool chest. How do I weave it into my life? And everybody should be thinking of this. Years don't mean you're relevant.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't think that way.
Yeah. I think that's
and young and early, like, I've only been here a year. That doesn't mean also that just because you have a couple years under your belt, you might be massively relevant, because we're doubling down on analytics, we're doubling down on data science. So just always keep that in the back of your mind, and I think AI won't freak you out as much.
Yeah, I love that. That's such fantastic advice for everybody to follow those 4 pillars as well.
Remind me though that I have to do it. Just periodically call me and say, how are your 4 pillars?
Where are you on your 4? We'll do a quarterly check-in.
Exactly.
I think that's wonderful. Actually, some girlfriends and I, we do the same. We'll do a quarterly check-in on our life goals to make sure we hold each other accountable.
Yeah, you're doing a QBR with your friends. Absolutely. We should hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah, we need more data on this to analyze.
That'll be another podcast.
Yeah, exactly. We'll come full circle. So I think that's just such sound advice, and I love your point around tenure being irrelevant, really, to learning at any tenure, whether it's a 1 year or 10 year. We've just 20 years. We've got so much that we need to keep on top of for our clients and for ourselves as individuals. Yeah. So we talked a little bit before about innovation that the Butler Till brings, and I have to bring it back to curation. We're on our Curation Conversations podcast, and we know that you've seen a lot around your curation program in market. Can you talk a little bit about how you see curation working as part of that maybe innovation strategy, and where it's applicable to your clients and your clients' business?
Yeah. So earlier, you heard our Chief Strategy Officer, Scott Ensign. He has been such a champion of curation within our agency, and recognizing, how do we do a purpose-driven supply chain? How do we curate audiences in the healthcare space and be compliant? And what does that look like without, breaking HIPAA or using PHI and PII? So, curation to me is, I think, the root of it, which is what Scott's sort of always ingrained in us, is how do we make sure that we're really matching the right content with the right people to drive the most effective outcomes without having these opaque systems. Yeah. And I think so curation just feels and should be such a transparent way of doing business. And it's something that we've always been really proud of. And then, you layer on things like a purpose-driven supply chain, and you think about it through that lens. But It's something that I think any relevant agency has to think about. And I think our clients are demanding it. And I think they're demanding, no more black boxes. And how do you really, in an opaque world, how do you make sure that you are eliminating these opaque systems? And I think curation is a big factor in that.
A good step to get us into
A good
that.
step. Yep.
To that almost like to the principles of buying media into programmatic, as opposed to it being a bit of like a reach and scale and, cheap CPMs, and let's just, make it turn into a bit of an efficiency machine, but actually to bring in the principles that your clients need for their customers and therefore for your customers, feels like it's a good kind of maturation of the ecosystem.
I was on a panel here, I think last year, and we were talking about effectiveness or efficiency, and it definitely was an or conversation. And everybody kind of went down the line and everyone's like, effectiveness. And of course it's effectiveness. But the reality is efficiency is not going away. You just have to understand the balance between those two things.
Yeah.
And I think that we tend to swing the pendulum where I've said it, it's obviously driving outcomes and how are you really being the most effective?
Yeah.
But efficiency plays a role in the effectiveness. And it's something that, I think I was the only one on the panel that said, I don't think it's an or, I do think it's an and.
Yeah.
We'll have to get the panel back together and see if they'll challenge me on it again.
I think that'd be great. I'd love to join. Can I host it for you?
Yes, you can.
That'd be fantastic.
You can always host anything that I have.
We'll see where we get to with it.
You can host my Thanksgiving. I like whatever you want to host. Just let me know.
Honestly, you do not want that. I can cook toast. Like whatever toppings on that toast you want, I'm in.
Perfect, because I can spread butter. But my amazing vegetarian wife can make the best turkey for the family.
Really?
Yes, she's all inclusive. It's a shout out to Shelley DeVito, everybody. She's a very inclusive individual.
I love it. I'm coming over.
You should. She would welcome you.
I love it. We're at Adweek. What are you most excited about for the rest of the week? I mean, it is Monday, and actually you've been at it all day. I haven't, there's been incredible panels from the whole team. What's the rest of your week looking like, and what are you most excited about?
So obviously the panels and hearing, we're a brilliant industry. I'm so proud of our industry. I think sometimes we get, I don't want to say a bad rap, but sometimes, there's some stuff around our industry being said. And, I just talked about, transparency. But I got to say, every time I'm at Adweek, I could not be more proud to be in this industry. I think we are pioneers in so many ways. I love the panels, but I'll tell you, I love the hallway conversations even more. Yeah. I just think those hallway conversations, they just help you think differently. And you get into these like little micro conversations on challenging one another and pushing one another. I just went to lunch with my CEO and my CSO, and we just had such great conversation from, two panels that we saw prior. And I think just getting out of the day-to-day and thinking about it when you're in this kind of third place and having the mind space, it's something I could not be more grateful for, and I'm so glad our industry does it. I hope we never stop.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there, isn't it? I mean, it's crazy,
yes.
But it's absolutely beautiful. The sparks are flying everywhere.
Yes.
The conversation is so rich, and I think to your point, we just allowing yourself to kind of step out of the normal, not that I was going to say mundane, which it's not at all, but just out of the day to day and go, I'm really here for this, and I'm going to have that space to go, what's next?
Yeah.
And what are we doing?
Embrace it.
So cool. A lot of inspirational conversations, including yours. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Us. No, it's been an absolute pleasure for sharing, all of your wisdom and your energy and to bring this to life for us. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Can't wait for you to make toast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and turkey. Turkey on toast?
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll stuff it.